Hey, what's his name?
Gordo.
Gordo?
Mary.
Yeah, Gordo, like Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Awesome. Is that why you were named Gordo?
No, it's named after a Canadian singer. And
Like Gordon Lightfoot?
Gord Downey. Gord Downey.
Oh,
from
yeah,
Tragically
sure,
Hip.
yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm Canadian. So are you Canadian?
No, I'm Texan.
All right.
Born and raised.
Okay.
Bro, look at his fucking fat chain. Of course he's Texan, dude. What do you mean? That no Canadian would ever wear something like that.
Appropriating Canadian culture. So, Gordo and Mary, thanks for taking the time. You know, they're just had a great conversation with those folks. So friendly.
Yeah.
Have you been following kind of the Roe v. Wade
Yeah,
overturning?
very closely.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's pretty fucked up what's going on.
Okay.
I think everybody should have the right to choose, well, particularly women. I think when it's something that's affecting your body, you should have the right to choose how you should have the right to choose how you go about your own health. And I think taking that away from people, and not even just taking away, but criminalizing it, is a very backward step for a country that prides itself on freedom.
Mm-hmm. Criminalizing abortion.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think, Mary? What's your opinion?
I think it's terrible. It's awful.
Same reasoning?
Yeah.
So let me ask you.
Damn, bro. Hasanabi heads really have girlfriends out here? That's crazy. They also look like they're drainers.
This is it your impression that Roe v. Wade
I don't know why I said
overturning? Well, let me ask you this first. What do you think about the leak? The fact that this was leaked from the Supreme Court.
I think it's pretty crazy to have like a leak of that magnitude. But I think it's also very important that that we have this knowledge, so you can at least like talk about it before this all happens. We have a very hard right-leaning Supreme Court right now, which we've had, of course.
Why is his voice so shaky? Is he nervous to have someone that disagrees with him? Bro, I love when anonymous chatters in the chat think that like being able to have a face-to-face conversation with an interlocutor on camera when you're not like a trained professional to be on camera is exactly the same as like anonymously writing the stupidest things in the chat. Like 99.9% of the things that you get away with saying on the internet under the guise of anonymity, you would never be able to say in real life. Unless you were talking about Crowder. I don't know if he is actually nervous. He's probably horny. That's his horny voice, because he's like, finally, I got a lefty out here.
This is America. We've had whether Democrat or Republican, in the very large gist of the political scale, we were right-leaning throughout our history. But right now it's to an extent that we really haven't seen in a very, very long time, really, since the Civil War.
I think he's doing a pretty decent job so far.
So I think it's when you start taking away rights that have been affirmed over and over and over, on this magnitude, I think it's important to.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. But you sound like you're pretty right wing, because you talked about freedoms and personal liberties. That's.
No, I think freedom and personal liberties, right wing or left.
Dude, that's so funny. Yeah, bro, right wing. Famously, yeah. Freedom and personal liberty is a famously right wing concept. I love that he says that as he's quite literally arguing about, quite literally positioning himself to defend like a state's right to, the federal government's right to deny women a medical procedure. Like, incredible.
Left wing, there's always bipartisan issues, and no matter who you are, you're a fucking communist.
Also, I just clicked on this dude's Instagram and he does not follow me. Not a real Hasanabi head, okay?
You're communist because you think freedom is of this way, and I'm not a communist, but and you're hard right wing, it's because you want freedoms in this way. Everybody has their own ideas of how to get there.
No, communism is not about freedom.
Yo, that's me. I'm wearing a Channel 5 bag.
It's pretty clearly expressed that it's anti-freedom. Like, there's no one who argues that communism is freedom.
There's communists that argue that.
I don't follow you anywhere but Twitch. Shut up, Mango JPEG. Should be following me everywhere. You don't follow me anywhere but Twitch, dude, what the fuck are you doing? I'm posting fucking incredible content, okay? Literally incredible content on all the... Perhaps the most cringe content I post is on Twitch. Like, my most cringe content is on Twitch. Everywhere else is great. It's so much better.
Well, not Marx or Lenin.
Marx does argue about the freedom that comes with communism. It's about the leadership of the proletariat, which is the individual, which if you're into individualism, I'd assume.
Can I ask you?
Okay, I've literally described this before in exactly these words. I don't think he's a follower, but like this is, yes, he's right. He's 100% correct. The most common misconception about Marxism is that it revolves around like collectivism and there's no there's no individual liberties under Marxism. It's completely bullshit. The entire purpose of Marxism is to specifically create further individual liberties for the average worker. Okay? That's the whole point. And the only way to achieve that in our current mode of production, in our current, the only way to achieve that is by allowing workers to have a different relations with a different relation with the means of production. That's where like society is built around. Okay, the way we create commodities, the way we create value, and everything revolving around that has basically reinforced the capitalist dogma that we live through on a daily basis. That's why concepts such as meritocracy are so difficult to shake. People want to fundamentally believe that, like it's a truth about human nature. Concepts such as greed are so difficult to shake because that's being reinforced from every facet of our development. But ultimately, the main purpose is so that people can have a life of meaning. People can have more individual liberties. And the only way to achieve that is through collective action.
Is it freedom?
Right-wingers are fundamentally against individual liberties and individual freedoms. Unless you are personally an incredibly wealthy person and you can like above the mechanisms of control.
If you're taking my rights away,
So, well, this
the
is
right
interesting.
to my own body.
Sorry. This is interesting. I think there's kind of two different questions. Is the idea, and if we want to talk about sort of abortion, we can. I sort of want to discuss the impression of the law. So you mentioned like federally, criminalizing abortion. Are you under the impression that that's what the overturning of Roe v. Wade
No,
is?
the overturning of Roe v. Wade is giving states the right to criminalize abortion.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
States to set their own rules.
But if you go deeper into it,
more specifically, like in the
Yes,
second and
yes.
first trimester.
if you get into this, there is a big discussion.
Okay, now I do now feel like Steven Crowder is a little bit more intimidated. I don't think he's used to just like having any sort of pushback whatsoever. So like the first moment that he has like a person who is not like a borderline Democrat, he doesn't have like the talking tree established for this kind of attitude. Like whenever someone comes in with like even a crumb of theory or a little bit of fucking a little bit of materialist thought, like he's like, okay, well I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do here at all. This is off script. I don't have talking points for this.
Discrepancy, particularly in the U.S., between income levels, and if you, particularly in a state like Texas, which is fucking huge, as you know.
Yeah.
If you don't make enough, like it costs to get to another state to have an abortion, just to travel out. It's going to be like gas prices are incredibly high. All of this.
Yeah.
Just
what are they
to get
today?
to another,
Are they over
like
4?
four or something? Yeah.
It's not that bad.
That's pretty. He just said it was bad. Seems like you're couching it a little bit.
Anyways.
Look at him trying to. He literally is trying to desperately, at the very least, like deflect away from the main conversation now. One method of doing that is by pitting the two people that are here together against one another, because he's just like trying. He's trying to fucking move on to something. But gas prices is a great fucking take, because ultimately it's like, from a leftist position, like if you're arguing about the material realities that the proletariat is subjected to, then it's very difficult for him. If you're a worker, if you have a worker first position in your argument, it's very difficult for these pieces of shit to continue LARPing as they care about workers. And he goes Steven Crowder will relapse back into the point where he was at when he got his ass beat by a fucking union organizer. You remember that? Like way back in the day? Because that's what Republicans used to do before this like supposed fake populist attitude that they started developing in an effort to reach out to a broader audience of right-wingers or try to red pill them. Like these guys used to fucking despise unions. I mean, he still probably openly despised unions. So, we'll play the clip of him getting clocked in a second. But like, you know, the moment that you actually are genuinely talking about workers' rights or talking about individual liberties from the point of view of the working class Americans, then all of a sudden he has to go back to his reactionary perspective. He's going to do anything he can. He's going to try to deflect. He's going to try to talk about like gas prices because of Biden. He's going to try to talk about the Democratic Party. Don't let that happen. Stay on message.
But
yeah, they're like California.
If you don't have the money, which there are quite a lot of low-income people, not just in Texas, but in the U.S. in general, to get out, to access your right to an abortion, which isn't even your right unless you're in another state, you can only do that if you have money. So unless there's, I'm against criminalizing abortion completely, but if you want to go like that and you still care about personal freedoms and rights, there should be like very hardcore programs to allow the people that do want it to go to another state. And how it's set up right now, it's leading the way to make it not just illegal to have an abortion within Texas or whatever state that criminalizes it, but to make it criminal to go to another state to get an abortion. And I think that's like it's pretty totalitarian and authoritarian.
So what would it make it? Your impression is that it would make it criminal to go to another state to get an abortion?
No, but that's what it's leading up to, because these are precedents we're talking about. This is how the Supreme Court.
Steven Crowder acting like he's never heard of this concept is hilarious. Because, like, dog, come on. Like, this is what happens when you fucking debate right wingers. By the way, like, what? Doy? You mean they're gonna criminalize traveling to another state? That's crazy. It's like, bro, are you fucking stupid? Of course they're gonna do that. The entire purpose of the fucking right-wing, anti-abortion movement is to literally criminalize at the federal level, okay? That's like what their goal is. Shut the fuck up. And all these pieces of shit used to lie for years and years and years, okay? About all these people used to lie for many, many years about how they never wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade. You know what I mean? But they did. And now that they got that, now they're going to turn around and be like, oh, well, we just don't want to criminalize at the federal level. Come on, that'd be crazy. No, of course they're going to do that. If you give them if you give them a little bit of fucking, if you take your foot off the gas pedal for even a brief moment, the right wing will take advantage of that. And they have been, and they are going to continue to. And also, if I'm not mistaken, Texas currently, it doesn't criminalize traveling, but it uses the bounty system against people who might leave the state and get an abortion anyway. Let's see. Texas bounty system prohibits travel abortions. Texas bounty hunter abortion bans a dire warning of what laws ahead for reproductive rights. You can get sued if you assist someone to get an abortion in another state. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's precisely why Connecticut, for example, made a counter. Connecticut came out with a counter legislation to basically make it so that if someone sues you because you went and got an abortion in the state of Connecticut, then the state of Connecticut will help you defend yourself. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Which, by the way, the actual terrifying prospect here is exactly the secession or the political events that unfolded in the lead up to the Civil War, which was the overreach by states that actually wanted to continue preserving slavery, right? Like, once you start, once you have like Fugitive Slave Act, exactly. Once you have fugitive abortion laws, and you try to prevent people from being able to get abortions in other states, all of a sudden, the entire country is falling apart.
I haven't heard that suggested at any kind of.
Well, I just told you, this is how precedents work in legal scenarios. You're setting a very large precedent like this, which gives people the right to go further and further and further. The whole Roe v. Wade precedent is based on that.
Him is coming an entire pool right now after you said that? Yeah, I know.
That it's not allowed, this abortion wasn't mentioned in the Constitution, but also the right to marry interracially isn't in the Constitution. The right to like...
Steven Crowder's like, yeah, great example, actually. We should fucking destroy that next. He's like, yeah, that's true. Sir, you're bringing up some good points. You know, Seems like that's the next thing that we should actually abolish.
A lot of things that we take as very granted and that are important aren't mentioned in the Constitution. So I think this is like a very dangerous thing that's happening right now.
Yeah, I think there's, and your question was, now I understand where you're coming from. I would disagree.
Damn, bro, he can't even fucking. All right, come on, dog. You love popping off. You love popping off when you're talking to Democrats. The moment that you're talking to someone who's like, I'm a Marxist, actually, like, what happened? Why does he get so flustered when he's talking to a leftist? It's just so weird.
Agree with. First up, do you mean precedent or precedents? You used both.
Precedent.
Okay, precedent. Yeah. And you asked me a
Please.
question earlier.
I asked you a question.
Yeah, you asked me a question. I wanted to get to the Supreme Court kind of Roe v. Wade law. So I actually appreciate that you understand that it goes to the states, and the states have that, have that right. Because you actually.
Oh, dude, he moved on. He literally was like, "Oh, well, I respectfully disagree. Pivot to her." That's bullshit. Wait, is this? I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That. You can't do that. You can't do that. I mean, you can do that, and he is doing that. But, like, how the fuck do people not realize that's precisely what he's doing? Oh, well, I respectfully disagree. All right, well, isn't this, like, change my mind? Like, you're fucking floundering like a fish out of water so hard that you're, instead of having your mind change, this is what you do when you just, like, fucking not only move the goalpost, but, like, move into a different argument that you yourself completely constructed. Homie just strawmanned an entire question into existence out of nowhere.
I actually appreciate that you understand that it goes to the states, and the states have that, have that.
That dude, this was your plan. Your only fucking talking point on the fucking talking point tree as the NPC you are was specifically, oh, it's states' rights. You don't know the first thing about overturning Roe v. Wade. I'm Steven Crowder. Like, what the fuck? He just straight up was like, okay, well, you do. So I appreciate that.
Right, because you actually understand what Roe v. Wade being overturned is. A lot of people think that there's a federal criminalizing of abortion, which isn't really the case.
No, it's up to
A lot of people think this. Okay, well, they don't. So talk to them. Why don't you, I don't know, why don't you talk to the people in front of you and not a lot in people?
To the states. Yeah. I haven't seen any literature that suggests that.
She's the real Hasanabi head, by the way. He's in the chat as well, but she is the, I'm gonna clock him right now. Okay, this is the real Hasanabi head. She's in the chat. This is the boyfriend of the Hasanabi head who, is tangentially aware.
The states already have a.
And it's also, I think it's also very difficult when it leads it to the states because the gerrymandering is so intense in places like.
I know what her username is. I'm not going to say it because you guys are fucking annoying, okay? Don't out her, chatters, because there's a lot of fucking creeps.
Texas and stuff, which really skews the political outlook when...
Lukey dude, she's never even heard of you. How do you know who this is? Where is she? She's never even heard of you. Stop being parasocial. Yeah, sure, buddy. Okay. This is precisely the reason why I'm saying do not mention who it is, okay? If you know who she is, do not mention who she is. I was joking. Okay. Stop. He's in the chat right now too, watching. So don't be fucking weird.
The large majority of people in cities like this, like Dallas, do vote blue, and I'm not a Democrat. In fact, I'm very heavily against the Democratic Party, just about as equally as much as I'm against the Republican Party. US politics are fucked across the board.
So how would you identify?
I am progressive, left-leaning. I believe in human rights, which, I mean, I think we all deserve a right to... We're the richest country in the world, and it's 2022. We're very progressive. We have the right to health care. We have the right to bodily autonomy and to be an individual person, to chase your self-actualization, be the person you want to be, as long as you're not harming anybody else. I know this is where it comes down to, because in abortion, in this rhetoric, it always comes down to whether you believe a fetus is a person or not. And I believe, because I don't remember, and nobody remembers what they were as a fetus because you're not sentient, I don't believe you're a person until you're born, until you're a sentient being.
Dude, this is like, dude, if I was a debate pervert, I would literally fucking turn around. I'd be gushing right now. I'd be so excited. If I was a right-wing reactionary debate pervert right now, this is a trap, okay? This is when you find yourself, if you've ever had a conversation with a vegan, also don't do that. If you have ever had a conversation with a vegan, don't. But if you ever had a conversation with a militant vegan, the trap is set the moment that you talk about sentience and what basically constitute what is the bar that you set for humanity, or rather to not murder mercilessly, right? The moment that you establish sentience, a militant vegan will start doing name the trait. Okay? Name the trait. Oh, so would you kill a human being that can't establish memories like easily and eat them? That's the vegan argument, right? Would you kill a little boy, a little child, right? Now, this is why whenever you have a conversation about abortion, getting into the philosophical trappings of what constitutes humanity is a failing path, in my opinion, because Steven Crowder does not have the intellectual fortitude to be able to legitimately have a conversation with you about sentience and about humanity, especially because philosophers themselves have not been able to come to a conclusion on this. Obviously, philosophers don't, they don't agree on anything, but this is a philosophical argument that is always up for interpretation and debate. And every moment that you have, every moment that you are having a conversation about sentience, what it means, is a fetus a life? Is it the potential for life and humanity that makes it okay to murder something or whatever the fuck? Like, the moment that you have that conversation, you are no longer having a conversation about the carrier, the woman, and her bodily autonomy, okay? You understand? Yes, philosophers don't agree on anything except French philosophers agree on abolishing the age of consent. But that's it. That's like a very unique take. Also, all the philosophers agree that it's morally justifiable to play the top of the hour ad break at the top of every hour. Okay? At the top of the hour, every hour, there's a 60-second ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. That's how you get an ad-free broadcasting experience for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, as long as you have an Amazon Prime account connected to your Twitch account. Get one free Prime subscription a month. Here's the woman ad break now. Needle Drop tweeted you? What do you say? What the fuck? Why did he tweet this? Oh no! I'm gonna have him on Monday or Tuesday, depending on when he's. Oh, I think I'm gonna have him on Monday. That's why everyone hates moral philosophers. I think everyone just hates philosophers in general. But the point is. The point is, it is a fruitless and silly conversation to have, especially when there is already a well-established, precedented being intact, and we are actually personally talking about. We're personally the moment that you start talking about the humanity of the fucking fetus, You've already moved beyond the main point, the main reason why the government should not personally interfere in these sorts of affairs. Okay? Why is that? The bodily autonomy of the woman, the carrier. Okay? That is the reason why the government should not interfere with these sorts of matters. This should be a conversation between the medical professional, and the pregnant party. I'm the guy being interviewed. Can you plug my Insta for my Dasha moment? Thanks, my Turkish brother. I know, I saw. Hey, guys, I'm the guy with the long hair, by the way. Thanks for watching. My Insta is Flaco Gordo. I'm not her boyfriend. She's my childhood friend. She's not my girlfriend. And thanks. It's me with the long hair. My Insta is Flaco Gordo. I saw. I feel like this dude, with his, given his hatred for the Democratic Party, might think that I'm like one of those people that's like fake. Also mentioned Dasha. Outed yourself as a Red Scare listener? Yikes. Anyway, all jokes aside, yeah, that's his Instagram. Okay, let's keep going.
I don't remember anything before my second birthday.
Yeah,
I
me
think
neither,
it all
which is what
really leads up.
well, I'm also not advocating for aborting someone at a year old, but this
No, I
is
know,
not
but I was
what
saying
we're
the
talking about.
line of
Right.
sentience, right?
Yeah.
See? See? That's you have been ousted, sir. You will now you have walked into my philosophical trap.
To your own body.
But you're not even you're not in the world
Why are you
at all.
forcing women to carry out?
Yeah, I shitted on you a lot, but only for your alphas. There you go, bro. Exactly. Okay. The average Red Scare fucking Dasha the Anna simp in the chat. I bet you fucking browse their Reddit all the time too, you fucking pervert. All right, it's fine. You're doing a good job so far.
A pregnancy that they can't afford,
Mm-hmm.
that that would lead up to a lot of high rates of infant mortality. People can't take care of a child. People can't go to the doctor. It's a problem. The healthcare system is awful. You can't.
Yes, pregnancy in this country, unfortunately, can also mean a death sentence. 26 out of 100,000 is fucking bananas. 26 women die because of a lack of adequate prenatal care. It is significantly higher, if not twice the amount of every other comparable OECD nation. It is fucking insane. And it's getting worse, for the record. It is getting actually worse. So, yeah, especially for black women, it gets even higher. Now, for the record, that is not, again, he's going to say, well, that's the reason. Well, yeah, OECD nations are 5 to 10. America is 26, and it is growing currently. Pregnancy complications, the 10th leading cause of death among young women, 25 to 34. And ultimately, it still doesn't matter, though. It still doesn't matter because we should be having a conversation around the bodily autonomy of the carrier, because that is the only argument. He said it. He said comparable OECD nations. Shut up, Mango JPEG. You know that's an adequate thing to fucking compare. That's an adequate thing to compare the United States to, considering that, like, we are the fucking imperial core. We are living in the imperial core, and we can't even reap the rewards of all that fucking bloodshed, okay? Are you kidding me? Are you fucking joking? Like, yeah, no shade is just a catchphrase. Yes, I say that a lot, yes.
To have a child in this country, it's expensive.
Right.
I'm 21. I could never afford to have a child. I can afford my health insurance that is expensive, but once a year, twice a year, go to the doctor, but that's about it. I can't afford to go to a hospital and have a child.
We can't even afford to go to the hospital in general.
I can't afford housing in this state, in this country. I can't.
Yeah, I can't even afford to go to the doctor in general. If I get actually sick, like, I'm f***ed. People that make $100,000 a year, you get cancer, you're bankrupt.
Where do you work?
Right now, I just got back from Europe doing a study abroad, so this is my first day back, so I don't have a
What
job
were you
right now. I study human rights, actually.
Okay, cool.
I study human rights and international studies.
And where were you studying?
That's the problem. You should have studied human wrongs, motherfucker. I studied human rights and human wrongs.
Barcelona.
Like a university?
Yeah, IAU is the university. It's my final semester, so I was just...
Dude, look at him. Dude, he's just like, he's completely conceited. He just now turned around and he's just like, oh, what did you study? Like, shut the fuck up, Steven. Go back to the main conversation.
I've already finished my degree. I was just doing, like, my electives, basically, and traveling.
He's just doing small
I study
talk.
human rights at SMU, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you said you can't afford a house.
Oh,
No, who can afford a house at, like, I'm 23. Who can afford a house at 23? Unless you're at
Or you said you can't afford a place to live. So where do you...
Well, I could afford a place to live if I was willing. Compared to 5
it's
years
just
ago, it
myself.
was very easy for me. For 5 years ago, I could go bartend, like, which is what I normally do, and I can afford a decent place for like
Oh, my man is caked up. He's a bartender, bro.
$700 a month. In Dallas, it's very hard to find. Like, to get a place that's not cockroach infested and like falling down, I'd have to have like 2 or 3 roommates, which is normal. But I mean, I've been here my entire life, and it's just getting I've seen the change firsthand.
Right.
We bought our house for $80,000. That neighborhood's about $400,000 now because of these multi-corporations coming in
Like
and buying up whole
Vanguard and
neighborhoods.
BlackRock.
Yeah.
We'd probably agree. You know, Elizabeth Warren saying they should be too big to fail. But I don't think any company is too big to fail. They should fail.
Look, he's just trying to drive like he's trying to use his resentment, his understandable and justifiable resentment against the Democratic Party to just like cut out anything that is not oppositional anymore, because like he recognizes that this dude knows what the fuck he's talking about. So because of that reason, he's like, all right, well, let's look for, let's look for common ground here, because you're going to fucking, clap my ass cheeks in the abortion conversation. What? This is a Roe v. Wade convo. Like, why are you talking about Elizabeth Warren, dude? Did she get an abortion? Who gives a fuck? Yeah, she sucks.
But I understand where you're going with this situation, and I also believe that I believe that when a corporation gets past a certain threshold of money, they should be checked and limited by the government, because I believe it was Thomas Jefferson has a quote where he talks about if the power is directed towards the banks. I wish you can look it up later if you want. You probably won't, because I know you like to nitpick your things. Nothing against you.
No,
but,
this will be totally unedited.
But you can.
I really appreciate everything you've been saying.
There's a thing about Thomas
helpful.
Jefferson that talks about when the money is like goes. You can look up Thomas Jefferson bank quote, I believe. And when the banks, if they're given too much money, and by banks it's capital interest goes above the people, it's no longer a democracy. And it's true. I certainly agree. We really pride ourselves on being a democracy, but
I high key don't believe that he said this. Did he actually say this? What? Private banks. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of the currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous. Hangi? Niye? Evet. Tamam, evet. Nereye gidiyorsun? İyi, peki. Yahu hep açık, sen git istediğin gibi. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. The issuing power should be taken from banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. That is, what is it? Other attributions none known. Oh, wait. The quotation is at least partly spurious. See comments below. Quotation is often cited as being in the 1802 letter to Secretary of Treasury Albert Gallatin and or published in the debate over the recharter of the bank bill. The reason why I say that it's probably not real is because was there even an alternative to private banking institutions at the time? I feel like there wasn't, right? I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong, but I do feel like that was just the norm at the time. There was nothing. There was no alternative to that. All matter of money basically was controlled through the private institutions, and they would like give their own form of like tender too. It's not like there were fucking greenback dollary dues back then. You know what I mean? Like. I can see it. I can see that, but no, he wanted to create a federal bank. Jefferson also said that the Constitution should be thrown out and rewritten every 20 years, or it would be tyranny prior generations over those living today. Yeah. Bank of England was the government, right? No, I'm talking about like early development of the United States, where they literally could not figure out that multiple slurp juices mean that you can have 3 different apes if you use the slurp juice on the single ape. Like, our founders did not know about the slurp juices, okay? So I do kind of find it stupid to have a conversation around what their understanding of banking looked like when they could not comprehend the fundamental truth that a slurp juice can create 3 different apes as long as you mix and match. They still don't get it. Okay. What the fuck is a slurp juice? Well, you don't get it either, friend. Don't worry about it. Fiat money was issued by the corporations that own the states. Not sure what Jefferson references. Okay, anyway, but let's say he said it. Okay, it's a good concept anyway. But let's see what
We're
Stephen
not-
Crowder
I
has
think
to
we
say.
can find common ground there, in the sense that
I can find common ground with a lot of right-wing people, but
Yeah.
our ideals are against each other because there are certain
Well, hold on,
things that...
can you let me speak?
Yeah.
I think we're saying the same thing on too big to
Getting
fail. I think
contentious.
that big banks want to privatize profits and socialize losses, right? And I think you're saying pick a lane, so where we won't find common ground is more so socialize the banks,
Well,
whereas
what
I'm
do you
saying
mean
they should-
about socialized losses? Can you expand on that?
well, they get bailed out by the taxpayer
Yeah,
once they screw up
yeah.
their own banking practices, right?
and-
It's their In other words, when the bank has a problem, it's their
Yeah, dude, you're definitely an Austrian economist, brother. Totally. Like, I love when like these right wing shitheads say stuff like that, as though they are like legitimately. Like, there is no such thing as in modern day contemporary America. There's not a singular fucking real Austrian economist right winger. Okay, they are completely funded by these corporations, the corporate overlords. Why the fuck would they ever legitimately have some kind of opposition beyond just simply talking about how these corporations should be made to fail? It's bullshit. It's complete fucking bullshit. This idea that like it's the natural ebbs and flows of the economy, like all of these companies should fall apart. First of all, there's also so many horrifying consequences to that, to allow certain certain businesses to fail, right? What we should do instead is instead of allowing them to fail, bail them out with taxpayer money, but then also purchase them outright and nationalize them. If you can't fucking run your business appropriately in the private sector and it's too big to fail, that means it's too big to be private. Okay, if there is a natural barrier of entry into a said industry, okay, if there's a natural barrier of entry into said industry, if your industry relies on government build infrastructure to a certain percentage that we could maybe calculate, then yeah, there should be way more regulation surrounding it, or at the very least, the government should completely control it. If they bail it out, it's our money. We should control it.
insured by the federal government.
Yeah.
And so that's the taxpayer, and that's people who really shouldn't, even people who are middle class, people who are lower middle class,
But even
paying taxes
past
shouldn't
that-
bail out.
even
Stephen
past-
Crowder's like, the FDIC insurance is actually bad and wrong. Okay, dude. Well, then, like, we can't do banking then. You know, there needs to be guarantee. There needs to be some level of guarantee. Like, I'm not against the certain ways that we have decided the government should operate. There needs to be some level of regulation, unless you just want, multiple fucking slurp juices to multiple slurp juices to basically create multiple different apes, as long as you use them, right? Like, and help people understand that. I'm just saying, like, the whole problem with the fucking crypto landscape is a lack of regulation. There's no central force that controls anything in that circumstance, and it's all volatile. It's all built around confidence. And when you don't have some kind of regulation surrounding it, when you don't have like an established rule set to go by, you're gonna get into a shitload of problems. There's going to be uninsured securities that you're trading that end up destroying you. Okay. I've listened to you for a while, but it's frustrating when you talk about shit you have no idea about. The original ape is consumed in that scenario. You're spreading fake info? No. Are you serious? So the multiple slurp juices create a new ape, but you actually lose your original ape in that situation? Dude, this is why the crypto markets fell apart, dude. I swear to God. This is why all the stable coins are being destroyed. I'm sorry. I did not know that I was spreading misinformation about slurp juices this entire fucking time.
Even past that,
Do we agree on that?
I do agree on that.
There you go,
But even
common ground.
but even past that, what the hell do we get as taxpayers even without that? We're one of the richest nations in the world. We don't have our free healthcare. We don't have a public transport system that's adequate. Dallas, we have a public transport system, but come on, it's bullshit.
Arlington, there is none.
Is there no public transit in Arlington?
And for most of the U.S., there's like compared to Europe, you don't need a car really. You can survive quite easily without one. For most of the U.S., if you don't have a car, you are struggling. You don't have a life. You don't have the ability to have a social life. It's difficult to get to work. The U.S. is quite big. We don't invest at all in. We don't invest in the social good really with any of our tax money. Our tax money is it goes to.
I don't really know that I agree with that. I mean, you're talking about many, many trillions of dollars spent in the war on poverty, and we just talked about multi-trillion
but
dollar
you're in
infrastructure
Dallas
bills.
right now, and you see the homeless people in every corner.
No, I agree. I just don't think that the federal.
Many trillions have been spent on the war on poverty. Okay. Nobody said the way that the government is handling poverty is adequate. As a matter of fact, it's inadequate and wrong and horrible. That's kind of the whole point. You can agree that the government is failing the American citizens. Okay, you can agree on that. I think many people do. Republicans love using that energy, however, to channel into like further reactionary goals that abolish all matter of control and regulation at the behest of major corporations, starving the beast, if you will.
Spending on the war on poverty works, just like the war on drugs hasn't worked.
Well, yeah,
I don't think throwing more money at it helps. I think that the problem is
so then what are you going for?
Well, I think the problem there, right, is we both agree that it's corruption. There's a lot of money that's being spent. It's not being spent in the right way. I don't necessarily think that all those things are fundamental human rights, but I certainly would argue that the money is being spent very poorly. I mean, there's a lot of money being spent. We have a spending problem, and it's not going anywhere useful. But I wanted to get back to kind of Roe v. Wade and the subject. Let me ask you this, because there are people...
Spend it on, like... Dude, I mean, it's just basic conservative shit. Like, basic conservative talking point is like, the government sucks, right? We agree. Okay, well then there should be less government. It's like, no, there should be the correct kind of government. You don't destroy a system by letting it fail further, okay? Specifically because it's currently not doing what it's supposed to. Especially when there are examples of governments doing significantly better with respect to social safety nets that they have created. Look to the Nordic social democracies. Obviously, there are still many failures there as well, but in comparison to the United States of America, they are doing a significantly better job. So much so that whenever you bring this up, American conservatives will turn around and say the most racist shit by being like, well, Norway is white. That's why they're doing it. White people know how to do social democracies, whereas, black and brown people don't. Like, that's just straight. They have nothing. They have no counter to that. So they turn around and they just like move to the spiritual realm, the idealistic realm, and basically argue from the position that like Nazis argued. But yeah, I love that he circled back to Roe v. Wade when he realized that he was about to be destroyed in another avenue of discussion. Real, let me just get owned in one avenue energy. Yeah.
For example, we had four.
I mean, it's basically like fucking stating that if you're living in a fucking apartment and your plumbing is broken, the conservative comes in and says, let's burn the apartment down. No, let's just fix the plumbing, dude. What the fuck? Oh, it's too much. We're spending too much money on this apartment trying to fix this plumbing. Let's just burn it down entirely. And then build a parking lot over it. That's just how we should do it, I think. That's the best way to go. It's insane.
Four people there, African Americans, who had a problem.
How do you know
with
they're poor just because they're African American?
I said four.
Oh, four. I think you said poor.
Ooh, careful with your presumptions.
No, I thought I misheard you. It wasn't a presumption. It sounded four and four.
There were four African Americans there. The number four.
I thought you said poor.
Okay.
What the fuck? Who uses this, bro? Who the fuck who says like there are African Americans there? Donald Trump and Steven Crowder. Maintenance can't unclog my toilet because my turd was late term Sag. Oh, ew.
I didn't.
What were you asking?
Well, thanks.
Is their point of view was okay. They were pro-choice, and then she was a mother of four. And when I asked her about the Texas heartbeat bill, she said, "Well, yeah, of course, after a heartbeat, because she had done an ultrasound, she said that's a life, that's a separate heart. Whose heart are you stopping?" My question to you is this, because I know you're coming in hot, and
I'm not coming in hot. I'm really speaking like I'm not coming in hot. I'm not being aggressive.
Can you understand the other perspective where someone says,
"Yeah, he's doing the. This is the third conservative tool in the tool belt, which is, oh, you're triggered. I triggered you. You triggered. Like, no, neither of them are triggered. I think you're just trying to say that and maybe invoke some kind of feeling out of them because you've been fucking, you're not doing a good job with this conversation." I mean, technically, he is doing a good job of the conversation because he's able to deflect away from the main point of view, the main perspective, that where he is getting owned on the Roe v. Wade side. Because I guess the ultimate position he had is, do people really know what Roe v. Wade is? It's not even about like just it's about It's basically about showcasing how stupid these libtards are that are like triggered about Roe v. Wade because like they don't even know what it actually is. So now he's like moving. He's just like flailing.
Someone does, certainly more than half the country believe at a limitation at some point that at a certain point it's no longer your own body. That's there.
Yeah, limitations are fucking stupid. Again, 93% of abortions happen in the first trimester. 6% of abortions happen in the second trimester, usually because people can't figure out that they are actually, pregnant, unfortunately, as a consequence of inadequate health care. Obviously, that if you want to eliminate second trimester abortions, that's one way that you could do that is by offering sex ed and also cheap, accessible, free pregnancy tests at these healthcare facilities. Okay, and the third trimester abortions are at 1%, less than 1%, and almost all of those third trimester abortions are abortions that happen to people that wanted to carry that pregnancy to term. Is incredibly traumatic. The idea of like trying to limit that when it's a conversation between you and your fucking doctor is really, really stupid. The notion that people are running around and like getting fucking pregnant specifically so they can feel like they're having like a murder inside of them, carrying a pregnancy to 6 months only to then turn around and get an abortion just for funsies is a psychotic one. But unfortunately, it's one that conservatives have basically created. Like it's a fake thing that conservatives are able to hammer on over and over again to make it seem as though that is the reality. To vilify the hundreds of thousands of women that have undergone this medical procedure and to make it seem like they themselves are doing the exact same thing. It's stupid. Incredibly stupid. It's not a thing that happens. But even if it was for the one psycho, okay, even if it was for the one person who's like, I am personally getting pregnant so I could get the third trimester, carrying a fucking thing inside of me, letting it grow to the third trimester so I can get a recreational abortion, I'm still not in favor of fucking limiting that so that like people that are going to forcibly carry a pregnancy, a stillbirth pregnancy to term, and then even like complicate their own, or put themselves in harm's way for that. I'm not going to prevent them from getting an abortion in the third trimester because there's some like one fucking weirdo that wanted to get a recreational abortion or whatever the fuck.
Argument, and that's why the Supreme Court has said it's bad law, and states should have the right to enforce those regulations. I'll let the woman speak.
Will the fetus survive if it's outside of your body?
So viability is not a good argument either, and the reason why I'm saying that specifically is because these guys are demons, okay? I get the viability one. It's like a very normal thing to feel. You're like, well, if there's no viability outside of the fucking womb, then like, what the fuck? Then that's not a baby. That's like reliant on me to survive at this moment, right? The viability outside of the viability outside of the womb argument isn't great because like medical technology has made it so that like the viability outside of the womb has gotten the time frame in which like there's viability outside of the womb for a fetus has gotten shorter and shorter. You know what I mean?
You don't have any children, right?
No, I don't.
Because a baby won't survive outside of the body.
No, it's relying on your body.
Right. A baby won't survive outside of the body, but I mean a baby delivered naturally won't survive outside of the body.
I mean,
but we're talking about fetus right now.
I'm talking about a fetus.
So what changes from, let's say, 8 weeks and 6 days, 8 months, 3 weeks, 6 days to 9 months? Is it just inside, outside the womb that makes it a person?
Well, one's a fetus and one's a baby.
But why is one a fetus if it's
not,
if it's just one day shy?
Yeah, he's getting into the weeds of like the idiotic conversation, specifically because he knows it's a losing battle to talk about the autonomy of the woman. Always turn it back to the autonomy of the woman. Whenever there is a conversation that revolves around abortion, Republicans are going to engage in the most like derailing semantics bullshit you can get into, as I said, to deflect away from the main conversation, which is the limiting of the already existing human being and their personal liberties. You are denying someone a medical practice, okay? You are denying someone from getting a medical procedure because you don't feel like they should be able to. It's completely selfish. It is insane, and it's also violent too.
9 months.
It's not relying on your body to your umbilical cord. And one
What do you think about the violinist example where you establish it as a human life? It's still about the autonomy of the woman. It doesn't. I don't like that. I don't like the violinist example, because a violinist is like a full blown a person with experiences. You know what I mean? That's why it's an outdated argument. Like, it's an outdated logic game or whatever. What is it called? Not a logic game. God damn it. A thought experiment. Sorry, it's an outdated thought experiment that has been dunked on numerous times.
Oh, sorry, 8 months, 3 weeks, 6 days to 9 months. Is it just inside, outside?
Violent? Yes, it is violent. Yes, forcing a woman to carry a pregnancy to term is violent, especially when there are medical complications that come along with this. Okay, you have helped me a lot with this video and your commentary and talking both my hardcore lib friends and a right-wing religious friend. Thank you for covering the way to speak to people. Yeah. It is violent. It is, of course, it's violent. If you are forcing someone, if you're denying a medical procedure to someone, because you just don't, because like a tiny fraction of the fucking country believes that this is like not a good thing to do, then yeah, that's violence. What is that? Would you not consider it to be violent if I decided like, the Hasanabi religion, I've established a Hasanabi religion. It's like Scientology. We've reached like, peak fucking masses. All right. There's so many people. There are so many people now that believe in the Hasanabi religion. And part of that religion is that I think that insulin should not be offered to people that have diabetes. I think you should pray the gay away, and you should pray the diabetes away. Now, I have been able to also command massive swaths of the population to be able to vote a certain way. So then the Republican Party decides, yeah, you know what? Fuck insulin is going to be a part of our bill. Would you not say that that's incredibly violent to be able to stop people from being able to get insulin? It should be naturally occurring in your body. God is literally punishing you if you are not able to generate insulin in your body. God is punishing you, and you should be able to deal with it. You're too fat. You should be able to lose weight and deal with it appropriately and adequately. Also, if you want to get a gastric bypass, if you're too fat, if you're obese, and you want to get a gastric bypass, I think you shouldn't do that either. I'm literally forbidding you from getting a gastric bypass to save your life in that circumstance as well. I'm closing off all the avenues that you can get to become healthy, okay? And then I turn around and say, just get skinny, forehead. Just get skinny. What's wrong? Just get skinny. Even if you're type 1 diabetes, or where you like naturally since birth are not able to produce enough insulin, and you die, okay? If you eat any kind of sugar, just avoid sugar. Just avoid sugar. Please, just avoid sugar. Sorry. It doesn't matter. You should have been born not diabetic. So that sounds insane when I put it like that, okay? And you can try to moralize it by saying like, well, it's about health. And maybe some instances it's like people, it's personal choices. And we shouldn't actually be doing this medical procedure on people because we're like getting them to, we're basically encouraging being fat in this circumstance, Just don't eat any sugar whatsoever. What the fuck's wrong with you? If I can get enough people to fucking believe in that, and I can get the Republican Party, if I lobby the Republican Party and they push for it, they can basically get 5 fucking unelected Supreme Court justices that were appointed by 2 Republican presidents that didn't even win the fucking popular vote to turn around and say, no, we're not going to do that. Like, we're not allowing insulin we're not allowing people to get insulin. If you're diabetic, you just fucking die. Sorry. That's what this argument looks like. That's precisely what this argument is. Any kind of conversation around like the actual the humanity of the fetus itself is a silly conversation. It's a medical procedure that women should be able to get. You can't sit there and be like, sorry, I want to force the federal government to bring this issue back to the states where I know that the Republican Party already has like majority control in these states, regardless of whether or not they actually win these elections, because of the way that these districts are gerrymandered. And I want to go against the wishes of the individuals. In most states in the United States of America, if not all states in the United States of America, this issue does not reach more than 30% support. It's fucking crazy. It's completely insane. It is undemocratic as fuck. It is unpopular as fuck. And people, these Republicans, try to still deflect away from the main position and the main point of the conversation.
More than half the country believe at a limitation at some point that at a certain point, it's no longer your own body. That's their argument, and that's why the Supreme Court has said it's bad law, and states should have the right to enforce those regulations.
Can I?
No, I'll let the
Okay.
woman speak.
Will the fetus survive if it's outside of your body?
So you don't have any children, right?
No, I don't.
Because a baby won't survive outside of the body.
No, it's relying on your body.
Right. A baby won't
survive.
survive outside of the body, but I mean, a baby delivered naturally
Yeah.
won't survive outside.
Yeah, he just refuses to make a distinction between a fetus and a baby, and he's like trying to spear dick his position into this argument here. It's very gross. It's very stupid. But the moment that you allow him to reframe the conversation around like babies, you're basically conceding a lot of ground there, because the conversation around abortion is not about like protecting the baby or killing the baby or anything like that. The conversation is exclusively around what the government is allowed to do to a woman that wants to make the choice on what she wants to do over her own body. Okay, it's about female bodily autonomy, and it's about the government stopping that from happening. Okay, this is why there's empirical evidence that denying the right to this medical care to women does not actually prevent abortions from happening. It just makes it so that these abortions are unsafe. Okay? Back alley abortions.
Well, I mean,
But we're talking about fetus right now.
I'm
not
talking about a
baby.
fetus.
So what changes from, let's say, 8 weeks and 6 days, 8 months?
What do you say to the Republicans who say you're taking away the baby's choice to live? I say to them that no baby is making a choice to live. There is no such thing. I mean, not to get into the antinatalist position here, but you never consented to being born. You can only consent after birth, okay? I guess technically by not killing yourself. But that's it. Not a single person has ever consented to being born. And if that opportunity was erased ahead of time, okay, especially when it's not a 100% guarantee that you are going to survive the pregnancy and become a human being, it's ridiculous. And that's why we have the conversation about, like, if a fetus is a baby and you have twins, okay? You have twins and one twin literally eats the other. Is that a murder? Is that a pre-birth murder then? Like, obviously, it's a little bit more complicated than the way that fucking Republicans try to present this issue. During the process of in vitro fertilization, you have basically 1,000 fucking murders happening, okay? Literally. In the process of fertilizing an egg, in vitro fertilization, you are killing 1,000. In the average, what is it? Like the average in vitro fertilization is trying and failing like 1,000 times. Okay, I guess, like, sorry. You're a baby murderer in that situation. Life begins at conception, so. The government doesn't even recognize personhood / legal rights for a fetus prior to the moment of birth. Why should they get precedent superiority over the fully formed human with actual legal rights? Exactly. I made this meme following what